Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Please welcome the 5th President of Florida International University, Dr. Mark B. Rosenberg. Of course.
Okay. Happy Monday to you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being at our FIU. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our incredible campus. I want to offer a very special thank you to the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Inter-American Development Bank for bringing us together this morning. Our university has had an excellent relationship with both AID and the Inter-American Development Bank for decades, and so we're really proud to be co-hosting this gathering. And as you know, our university does have a very close working relationship with the Venezuelan community. In fact, we are committed to ensuring that young Venezuelans, old Venezuelans, individuals who are here in our community see our institution as a source of hope, as a source of opportunity, as a source of learning, as a source of partnership and getting things done. And in fact, I'm very proud to tell you that we have now over 2,000 students of Venezuelan descent and origin studying here at our FIU. Now, we understand that some of it is for the wrong reasons. That is to say, there are no opportunities at this point, perhaps in the homeland. But I want to say that as long as we have an opportunity to work with students from Venezuela, we're going to take full advantage of that and make sure that those students, as well as every other student, gets the education that you deserve. In fact, our FIU is dedicated to educating and preparing our students to take part in the major debates on the world stage. We see ourselves as a solution center. And in part, the ethos that we have is a function of the incredible support historically that we have had from our congressional delegation, a delegation that puts the community first, that puts Florida first in terms of its thinking. And I want to welcome our representatives from the U.S. House, Congressman Diaz-Balart, Congressman Wasserman Schultz, Congressman Deutsch, and Congressman Mucarsel-Powell. We couldn't have a better delegation thinking about and fighting for our community. So I want to thank you for being here. And I also want to point out proudly, so very proudly, that the appointees leading the Western Hemisphere initiatives that we have, both at the USAID and at the IDB, are FIU graduates. John Barsa, Assistant Administrator for AID, and Elliot Pedrosa, who is the U.S. Executive Director at the Inter-American Development Bank. I can't tell you how much pride that gives me, and it should give you, to know that individuals who were educated here are now playing a role in helping us to make the Americas a better place to live. So it's a really great development. And in fact, as part of that, if you will, extension, just last week we broke ground on phase 2 of our Stephen J. Green School of International and Public Affairs. This next phase of our construction is going to help to position us to take even greater leadership in the Americas. You see, we are already the largest school of international and public affairs in the world. We also have with the leading Model United Nations team in the country. FIU students who go out and compete with top universities and consistently end on top. That's our students, that's you, that's what they're doing. So So it's no wonder that already we can see leaders in Washington who have come through our FIU. And many of you know that there is a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. And this crisis has led to a shortage of basic human necessities, medicine, food, water. The crisis has resulted in nearly 4.5 million Venezuelans fleeing their country, making it the largest external displacement of people in the history of the Western Hemisphere. Who would have thought that something like this could happen in the 21st century? Who would have thought that we, in fact, would be meeting here to have a consequential conversation and to take some significant action steps to try to address these issues? Well, we are. This is our reality. And because we have the responsibility to leave things better than we found them, we're here with a firm determination to work collaboratively to get things done. In fact, in a few moments, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from some of the people who are at the very forefront of initiatives that are helping Venezuela and its many refugees, including our congressional leadership. You're also going to learn about Better Together, the Better Together Innovation Challenge, which will crowdsource, which will fund, and which will scale solutions to support Venezuelans and the host communities affected by the crisis. I'm really proud to be a part of this. The notion of crowdsourcing solutions, what a brilliant idea. Why not rely on citizens? Why not rely on grassroots organizations? Why not rely on the good people in this community to bring the solutions that the region so desperately needs? So I want to thank you again for being here, for playing a positive role in changing for the better our hemisphere. I want to thank you for believing in FIU. Hope you get a chance, if it's your first time here, to walk around and enjoy the campus. We have a total of 57,000 students at FIU, and right here on this campus, about 43,000 students. You'll see just what an energizing, and dynamic place it is. And without further ado, let me ask Alexis Bonnell from the Agency for International Development, the Chief Innovation Officer, to speak. Thank you.
Wow, 57,000 students? 57,000 ideas will be submitted to this challenge today, I have a feeling. So it's a great start for us. Thank you, President Rosenberg, for your warm welcome. I'd also like to extend an enthusiastic welcome to Representatives Mario Diaz-Balart, Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, Ted Deutsch, and Debbie Mukersel-Powell. Thank you so much. Likewise, I'd like to welcome Christine Del Portillo, South Florida Regional Director, who is from the Office of Senator Rick Scott. Thank you for joining us today. I'm extremely excited to also welcome Venezuela Ambassador Carlos Vecchio today, as well as our partners from the Inter-American Development Bank, Irene Arias-Hoffman, also for joining us today. My name is Alexis Bonnell, and I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for the U.S. Agency for International Development. I always talk about how I have the best job in the world because I help change the way government responds to some of our most critical challenges by bringing in new voices, new ideas, and new opportunities to engage with communities around the world, like this one. And today, I think I have a pretty awesome job because I get to be your MC for the next hour. So one of the most challenging issues that we're currently facing, as Dr. Rosenberg explained, in the Western Hemisphere is the Venezuela regional crisis. And we all know the political and economic situation in Venezuela is difficult. Venezuela is experiencing the world's largest economic collapse outside of war in the last 45 years. As of 2019, almost 90% of the population lives in poverty. And the International Monetary Fund estimates that Venezuela's inflation rate will reach an unprecedented 10 million% by the end of this year. 10 million%. This urgent crisis has driven nearly 4.5 million people to flee the country, as was mentioned, the largest external displacement of people in the Western Hemisphere's history. I've been hearing the most heartbreaking stories about Venezuelans who have fled to countries across Latin America and the Caribbean. Stories about mothers, fathers, young children, grandparents, walking for days in search of food, medicine, and basic services. But hope and aspiration for a brighter future remain. And that's what brings us here together today. And with that, I'm so honored to invite the members of the Florida delegation of the U.S. House of Representatives to join me on stage and share their insights about how their constituents right here in Florida are responding and contributing their support for the people affected by that crisis. I'd like to invite Representatives Mario Diaz-Balart, Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, Ted Deutsch, and Debbie Winter-Saltaro. And I'd first like to invite Representative Diaz-Balart to address us.
Thank you so much. Sorry. Morning. No, come on, man. Are there Panthers in the house? Come on, good morning. All right, let me first start, by the way, by thanking a few people. Mr. President, thank you once again for your hospitality and your leadership and your friendship. To my colleagues, my esteemed dear friends of Congress, privileged to be with you, and my colleague representing Senator Scott Gersine, good to see you. The IDB team and the USAID team, led so ably by Ambassador Mark Green. I start every remark when I'm anywhere, and so those of you who have heard me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do it again. I start thanking a group of people who are not here. A group of people who are never in the celebrations or in the meetings, but they're the ones who allow us to live in freedom. So I always start, and I would ask you to thank the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. I also want to thank the administration for its remarkable leadership in the issue of freedom in this hemisphere, finding new and effective ways to help the people of Venezuela and the people who are helping the people of Venezuela move forward. I commend them for again, the administration is looking ways to seek new ways to harness the generosity of the American people in the most effective way for the cause of freedom of Venezuela, but also making sure that we protect the hard-earned taxpayer dollars of the American people. So again, I also want to thank USAID and the Inter-American Development Bank for their work towards making this joint venture possible. You're going to hear more about the details. I'm not going to go into that, except for the fact that what we get all the time are folks that walk up to us, members of Congress, and they say, how can we help? What can we do individually? Business people, NGOs, what can we do to help? Well, this is, again, I think, a way to crystallize that and create a way where people can get together and help. And I repeat, not to help in any way solidify, give legitimacy or funding to the regime, but help those who are helping the Venezuelan people, help the Venezuelan people, and help the cause of freedom for the Venezuelan people. And that is the bottom line. So let's not get confused. There is one fundamental cause for the national security interests of the United States, for the Venezuelan people, for this hemisphere. There is one fundamental cause and one fundamental answer. Freedom. Freedom for the Venezuelan people. I would add, by the way, that eliminating this cancer in this hemisphere, this socialist cancer in this hemisphere, that is not only choking Venezuela, but Cuba and Nicaragua and Bolivia, that is the fundamental answer. To eliminate that cancer from this hemisphere. Y quiero que nadie se confunda. Aquí hay una meta y una solución para los intereses de los Estados Unidos, pero también para el pueblo de Venezuela, de Cuba, de Nicaragua, de Bolivia y de todo el hemisferio. Es la eliminación de este cáncer socialista en el hemisferio y la libertad absoluta de esos pueblos. Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua serán libres. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you. Thank you to the administration. I thank lots of people, and I will thank, lastly, somebody who I've gotten to know for many, many years, and I think you're going to hear from him later. It's going to be a privilege to hear from him later. La voz de Venezuela Libre. The person who the genuine president of Venezuela has designated as the voice for Venezuela, Embajador Vecchio, privilegio estar con usted aquí. Muchísimas gracias.
Representative Wasserman Schultz, please.
Hola a todos mis amigos y vecinos y bienvenido a Juntos a Mejor. Es mejor. Thank you, Alexis. Appreciate the invitation from USAID and all that you are doing under Ambassador Mark Green's leadership to really stabilize Venezuela's humanitarian crisis. And crisis isn't really even a strong enough word to label what is going on in our hemisphere. And Dr. Rosenberg, thank you so much. Where did you go? Thank you so much for your leadership. Congressman Diaz-Balart and I were remarking, we've both been in office about the same amount of time, going on 25, 26 years, and the evolution and explosive growth, not only in the student population, but in the well-deserved reputation of FIU, has been truly remarkable. When I first came to South Florida 30 years ago, this was not a place that was on the map. And not only are you on the US map now with 57,000 students, but you are on the world map, the hemispheric map, not only as a place for students to come and really become leaders, but for academics, for experts, and for international leadership to convene to make important decisions. So we're so proud of you and so proud of the work that's been done here. And I want to join my colleague in praise for Ambassador Carlos Vecchio. This is really a time in which you need measured, forceful, focused leadership, and it is no surprise that President Guaido has designated Ambassador Vecchio as his lead person here in the United States because his calm, smart, yet forceful demeanor and advocacy for democracy up close has really advanced the cause of Venezuelans in Venezuela as well as here in the United States and around the world. And it is critical that we shine a bright spotlight on the criminal and human tragedy that has engulfed Venezuela. What has unfolded before our eyes is a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions. More than 4 million people have already fled due to political chaos, worsening economic conditions, and food shortages. Maduro is literally starving his people. Defeated diseases like measles and malaria are witnessing a frightening resurgence. I have been to the border in Colombia with Venezuela. I have been to Cucuta and been to the hospital with Congresswoman Donna Shalala, where we talked with victims of the shootings after the concert demonstration by military forces on their own people. The world needs to see the corrupt Maduro regime for what it is, an anti-democratic criminal regime that inflicts horrific suffering on its own people, blocking the delivery of food and essential supplies in a desperate attempt to cling to power. All of us here are committed to helping Venezuela peacefully transition to a constitutional democracy with free and fair elections. My congressional district includes Weston, which is my hometown, or Westonzuela, which we affectionately call it. And my district includes the highest concentration of Venezuelans in the United States. My neighbors, literally on my own block, share harrowing experiences with me: flight from political persecution, denial of basic food, confiscation of their businesses, fear of their children being kidnapped from schoolyards. And one of those stories belongs to Juan Correa Villalonga. As a child, his family fled persecution from the Chavez regime, abandoning their home and business to seek safety here. After his uncle was assassinated, he and his family applied for political asylum, fearing for their lives if they had to return to Venezuela. And unfortunately, Juan was actually deported and was the first Venezuelan who was readmitted to the United States, and he continues the fight for democracy here, now as a United States citizen. I am thrilled to be here for today's launch of the Better Together Challenge, which will crowdsource and fund solutions for Venezuelans and communities affected by the regional crisis. It's exciting to have the opportunity to elevate Venezuelan voices and ingenuity to address the Venezuelan community's needs. We have to innovate. We have to think outside the box. When networks of Venezuelans share critical insights and data with global organizations, we can address pressing needs in migrant communities here and ideally spread it to Venezuela. At this very moment, we hold in our hands a historic opportunity to do so much good for our Venezuelan brothers and sisters, and we are here today united to do just that. Thank you so much.
Representative Deutsch.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. President, Mr. President, I want to tell you the one thing that we're always reminded of when we come to FIU is the importance of American leadership in the world. It plays out in so many ways. It's so vital to represent our values across the world. One important way, one crucial way that we do that is through education. And there is no one who better understands that and works as hard to accomplish that every day as you and the work that you do here at FIU. Congratulations to you and to everyone here at this great institution. I'm honored to be joined as well by my colleagues. Always a pleasure to be with the three of you. And we're here to celebrate the launch of the Better Together Challenge, which is a really outstanding new program that, as we look at the best ways that we can help the people of Venezuela, working together, Democrats and Republicans, to support the diaspora here, the community here, and those back in Venezuela who are suffering. So I'm so pleased that USAID is taking this initiative to help Venezuelan entrepreneurs and small businesses wherever they are find success and give back to their country. This is a really innovative and terrific new idea. For far too long, the private sector in Venezuela has been oppressed. The very right to freedom, as my colleague spoke to, the very right to freedom, to prosperity, to build a future, have been taken by those who seek only to enrich themselves. We are all committed to working toward a political change in Venezuela, to freeing the Venezuelans from their suffering. Earlier this year, on a visit to the border between Colombia and Venezuela, I spent time at two USAID facilities. One, a facility that delivers thousands of meals to Venezuelans who sometimes walk for hours just to get one hot meal a day, and another, a warehouse, an enormous warehouse full of supplies, medical supplies, food supplies, things that will improve the lives of Venezuelans, and so many of them are marked with a great big American flag, as USAID has stepped up ready to deliver these resources to the Venezuelans who need them. Unfortunately, when you walk out of that warehouse to the bridge, you see the blockade that Maduro built across the other side of the bridge to prevent these much-needed resources from getting in. The need for medicine, medical care, sometimes just a roof over their heads. No one should have to live like this. And so I applaud Minister Green for the work that USAID has done and the Inter-American Development Bank, all of this to help alleviate suffering. I applaud the launch of this really innovative program that will lay the groundwork for better days ahead and for a brighter future for all Venezuelans. Thanks so much for having me. Congratulations on the great ideas that will come forth.
Representative Mukasey Powell.
Good morning, everyone. And I am going to just show off just a little bit about this incredible institution, Florida International University. I was very fortunate to have had the privilege of working for this university for many years before I was elected to serve in Congress. And I don't think there's a better institution that is better positioned to partnering with an organization like USAID to really come together and bring different constituencies from business, Congress, my colleagues and I, students, faculty members, to find solutions to one of the most challenging problems that we have right now facing the entire hemisphere. I want to thank President Rosenberg for having us here today and allowing this to happen. Alexis, for all the work that you're doing in USAID, my fellow members of Congress who are now, I can call my friends, and also Ambassador Vecchio. I want to also mention and acknowledge two women that are in this fight with us and who are here present today, Consul of Ecuador, Pamela Jalil Garcia, and also our consul from Peru, Marta Lizarraga. And I think it speaks volumes that they're here today, because the issue of Venezuela is not an issue that only affects Venezuelans. This is the worst humanitarian crisis that is affecting the entire hemisphere, that affects neighboring countries like Colombia, who have opened the door to more than 2 million Venezuelan refugees, Ecuador, Brazil, Peru. I have that understanding. As many of you know, I was born in Ecuador. I have family that live in Venezuela. Many of them have already moved to the United States, and some of them are still there. And what we're seeing is such a critical deterioration of the political and economic situation in the country that right now only 30% of Venezuelans have access to safe drinking water. And this was a study done, actually, by the Interdevelopment Bank, which I'm sure Alexis can talk more about. But just imagine, we have pregnant women, children, families that are living in rural areas that can't have access to safe drinking water. And the spread of infectious disease is becoming such a challenge that we need immediate assistance. This is why in Congress, in early 2019, we passed the Humanitarian Assistance to the Venezuelan People Act, so that we can provide that humanitarian assistance, not just for the country of Venezuela, but also to neighboring countries that are absorbing such an influx of refugees. And one of the most important things that we can do today, which I know that students are actually the voices leading us to really deal with these challenges. We've seen it just by listening to young Greta tackling the issue of climate change. I know that we can find the same solutions here today with the students of FIU tackling the issue of Venezuela, but we need to bring innovation, we need to bring ideas come together so that we can find innovative ways. I know that we're doing everything we can to put pressure on this dictatorial regime, and like my friend and colleague said, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Maduro, who's starving his own people. We need to work together with our allies to continue to put that pressure on this regime, but at the same time, we need to assist the people that are right now living in such dire situation. So one of the other things that I want to briefly mention is that the Venezuelan crisis is also testing our belief of a collective responsibility. All nations have a responsibility to respond to this crisis, to provide aid to Venezuela because they're our neighbors, to Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador, like I mentioned, because they're taking millions of refugees that are women and children that are fleeing violence and poverty and such a brutal dictator. USAID is going to be instrumental in providing this assistance to these countries. And so I think that we are here today because we have a large constituency of Venezuelans, but we're also here today because we want to show our commitment of working closely with all of you, with USAID, with institutions like FIU, so that we can bring solutions and tackle this problem that is urgent and action is required now. So thank you very much for having us here, and you can count on our support. Thank you.
Can I ask the members of Congress again to stand to thank you for your support? And what I want to point out, yes, thank you. What I'd like to point out is the very definition of this challenge, better together. And so I want to thank these people who are so busy and do such amazing work for us, representing Florida and Washington, for their time today, but for most of all, for being better together with us today. So thank you so much. We know you have to go. Wow, it's so cool to see them. Oh. To provide more context about what is happening today on the ground in Venezuela, I am so honored to welcome His Excellency Carlos Vecchio, the Ambassador of Venezuela to the United States, to provide true insight into the situation.
Hello, sí, ahora sí. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this invitation. I want to thank the president of FIU. Thank you very much. I didn't have the opportunity to study here, to teach here. When I got here in my exile in 2014, I had the privilege to come to Miami-Dade, unfortunately. I wanted to come here. But also, you know, that I remember my beautiful school in Venezuela, far away from the capital of Caracas. You know, it was a public school, elementary school, that I remember and I feel so proud. The name of my school, and that is still the name, is Abraham Lincoln, which is an important person, an icon for this beautiful country. I want to thank also USA, John. I don't know where is John. Thank you for your support. It has been very important since day one. And I have to mention also the administrator, Matt Green. He has been a champion with us. Champion for democracy, champion in helping Venezuelans. I said to them, you are saving Venezuelan lives. And that's the beauty of this job. So many thanks to USA. John, thank you very much for your support. Has been very important for your team, your leadership. And of course, I want to thank the Trump administration and this administration. They have been giving us a lot of support, political support, and also expressing the solidarity in favor of the Venezuelans. We will never forget this moment, John. Never. And also, we would like to thank our real ambassador here. They just left. Congressman Diaz-Balart. He was the first person that I saw when I got in my exile. David Wasserman Schultz, and also MacArthur Powell. I'm mentioning this because some of the resources that we will use here today have been approved by the U.S. Congress. And they have been a key actors inside of the U.S. Congress to get those resources. So we are not getting only the support of the administration, the executive power, we're getting also the support of the U.S. Congress. And we feel so humble in getting this support, this bipartisan support, the support of all the institutions in the U.S. Better together, better together. Getting the branch and the legislative branch show the greatness and the leadership of this beautiful country. So thank you very much for that as well. And of course, we want to thank IDB Bank, the International Development Bank. We put these two, entities together, working together, better together, to help the Venezuelan people. As you know, we as an interim government of Venezuela, we are supporting this great initiative because that will support Venezuelans across the region, will support Venezuelans inside of our country to alleviate the difficult moments that they are facing right now. I have heard many stories when I have visited, the region. Families who have been divided. Mothers that have to choose who children have to feed. People walking from Cucuta to Lima. It's like walking from Miami to San Francisco. People starving, without education. So this is something that we need to address. And this initiative will look for innovative solutions to improve the conditions of the Venezuelans who are across the region. Support also community hosting Venezuelans, helping and supporting the neighboring countries who have received the Venezuelans in the region. But let me be clear on this as well. This is the worst humanitarian crisis in our entire history. And the only way to resolve it is taking Maduro out of power. Maduro must go. We need to end this suffering now. Now. But while we work together to restore democracy in Venezuela, we need to take care of this situation as well. At the same time, we need to alleviate those sufferings. And that's why, initiatives like this will help us. We are facing today the largest refugee crisis in this hemisphere. It happened here, close to Venezuela, 3 hours flight to get to Venezuela. It's happening in this hemisphere, and it could become the largest refugee crisis in the world if Maduro continues in power. And that's why we need to do whatever we can do in order to end the suffering of the Venezuelan. It is in times of adversity in which we show the greatness of the humanity. And this is an example of that. The U.S. has become one of the most important allies on this fight. In difficult moments that this country has faced, we have supported this country. During the World War II, we became one of the reliable oil suppliers to the Allies. In 1962, we sent 2 Navy vessels to support the U.S. during the missile crisis. We would like to preserve this relationship with the U.S. in the long term. It will be much better be together than alone. While Maduro is isolated, we have received the strong support of the international community, including the U.S. We have created the most important international coalition since World War II. And now we are receiving this initiative jointly with the IDB. While Maduro is isolated, we are receiving the support from the Patagonia to Canada, from north to south, everywhere. So I'm fully confident that at the end of the day we will prevail because we are together. While we build this beautiful future, we are going to be ready for what we want, which is the freedom of this hemisphere. So thank you very much for being here today. We will support this initiative. I don't have any doubt that many Venezuelans will receive the support from the USA and also from the IDB. Thank you very much. Thank you, John. Thanks.
Thank you, Ambassador Vecchio, for sharing so much more about the crisis. We've spent some time talking about how dire the situation is and why new ways of delivering assistance is so critical for all of us. You've been invited here today to learn about an innovative new way to address some of the most pressing needs of the Venezuelan people. Please allow me to invite on stage Mr. John Barca, the Assistant Administrator for the Latin America and Caribbean Bureau at the U.S. Agency for International Development, and Irene Arias Hoffman, the Chief Executive Officer of the Innovation Lab at the Inter-American Development Bank. Please join.
First of all, thank you for the warm introduction. I would like to thank the members of Congress who are here to show their support for this incredible program, Better Together, or Juntos es Mejor. I would like to thank the members of the diplomatic corps who are here. Thank you very much for coming here. Thank you to President Rosenberg and the FIU community for hosting us. We're always grateful for that. And a special thanks to Ambassador Vecchio, representative of the legitimate Guaido government. Thank you much for being here. So we've heard so much about the suffering here. It's the lack of access to water, people having to drink out of sewer water, these terrible conditions that who would have thought that in this day and age we'd be seeing that in this hemisphere. So what we are doing is we're actually here for a joyous moment because we're announcing this program, joint partnership between USAID and IDB, $13.5 million for the Better Together Challenge, or Juntos es Mejor. We are very excited about this because it's an opportunity to help ease that human suffering that we've been hearing so much again this morning. The largest displacement of people in the history of this hemisphere. So in the past, USAID has been able to do what we call challenges, which are calls for innovation to deal with specific problems. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, we did a challenge around how to better combat Zika in Latin America and in the Caribbean. So we did a call for innovation. We asked people to submit ideas. A team from Tanzania came up with an idea for sandals that people would wear, and as they would walk around, it would spray insecticide on the floor. So you have, who would have thought about that, right? You have little sandals, so people are walking around basically combating the mosquitoes that spread malaria. That was one of the ideas we outsourced. Who would have thought about that? Here's another example. An auto mechanic from Argentina came up with a new device to help prevent breech births and improve difficult childbirth. Take a step back. How often does the medical community turn to auto mechanics to ask for advice on how to help? It doesn't happen. So what we have done, we have the processes in place to get ideas from any number of places and help bring these ideas to see the light of day and make differences in people's lives. We've done this 40 times before. This challenge is our 41st challenge. So we have all of the background in terms of how to get things done. And so we're proud to bring this. This challenge is a little different in that we are not focused on one aspect of the crises. As we heard before, there are problems inside Venezuela. There are problems in Ecuador, Peru, Colombia. Inside and outside Venezuela, the horror of this crisis is affecting so many people. So what we're doing is we're calling for innovative ideas to deal with any aspect. We're crowdsourcing the solutions and the identification of the problems. So somebody could say, well, I have a better idea to help Venezuelans be employed in a certain country, or we have a better idea for sanitation or health inside Venezuela. What USAID has is the background. We have the mechanics. We know the mechanics on how to get things done. So, for example, the ideas can come at different levels. So somebody's thinking, well, I really don't know how to field an idea. What you see with some of the paperwork you have before you is we have 4 different tiers. So you can come up with just an idea, and we can fund that up to $25,000. At tier 4, if you have an idea that's ready to be commercialized and fielded, we can field that up to $1.5 million. And this is a rolling process. It isn't like we have a fixed amount of awards. The $13.5 million we have to start with is enough to keep funding ideas and keep funding innovation as it comes in. So we're very excited about this. We're very grateful for you to be here. After this part of our event, there's going to be a break and there's going to be workshops so individuals and organizations can learn more how to be involved. But again, we're excited about this opportunity. We know how creative humans are. We can't wait to hear all the ideas you have out there. So as far as all the back office, how do you get an innovative idea, bring it to market? We've got that. The solutions, you've got that. That's on you. So we're very excited to be here. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for being here. We look forward to working with you. Thank you, Alexis. All right, and now to Irene from IDB.
Everyone, buenos días a todos. Muchísimas gracias, John, Alexis y a todo el equipo de USAID por esta alianza. Presidente Rosenberg, muchas gracias por abrirnos el campus, por conectarnos con esos 57.000 estudiantes que, como decía Alexis, van a poder conectarse para ser parte de esta solución. Muchas gracias, embajador Vecchio, y a todos los socios que estáis aquí representados con los que vamos a llevar esto a cabo. En toda la región de América Latina y Caribe son en realidad 40 millones el número de personas que vive fuera de su país de origen. Obviamente muchos voluntarios, pero muchos y en cada vez más involuntarios. De estos 4.5 millones de venezolanos, como se ha comentado, están yéndose de su país, se han ido de su país desde el colapso de Venezuela. Esto es lo que nos trae aquí ahora y reconocemos que hay varias medidas de muy corto plazo, algunas como las que mencionaba la congresista, de dar medicinas, de dar comida, que hay que hacerlas, pero también vemos que hay una gran oportunidad de desarrollar soluciones de largo plazo, soluciones creativas que en realidad pueden llevar a una mejor vida a todas estas personas con un efecto duradero. Los 60 años del Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo, esa ha sido la misión, ha sido mejorar las vidas de las personas en América Latina y Caribe. Y es por eso y que desde el Laboratorio de Innovación del BIT Lab estamos aquí con USAID para poner todo nuestro esfuerzo en atender estos retos, este desafío que tienen estos 4.5 millones de venezolanos y las comunidades en los países que los están acogiendo. ¿Y de qué manera vamos a actuar? Tres formas o tres criterios que vamos a enfatizar en esta búsqueda de soluciones. Lo primero es que sean soluciones innovadoras, no innovación por innovación, pero sí en el sentido de que apalancándose de la innovación podemos llegar a soluciones que son más incluyentes. Segundo, que sean soluciones que estén realmente ancladas en una conciencia del contexto local, de la realidad de cada una de estas comunidades. Y tercero, que sean escalables y que sean sostenibles y vayan atadas con una medición de cuál va a ser ese impacto. Y las áreas en las que queremos aplicar y queremos buscar esas soluciones son 4. La primera, centrada en las personas, los ciudadanos, las personas que están, en particular, buscando habilidades o cómo poner sus habilidades en uso, que necesitan conectarse en red. Por eso mucho de lo que vamos a hacer va a ser totalmente digital, pero también muy conectado con organizaciones locales. El segundo tipo de necesidad es de productividad. Todas estas personas quieren volverse útiles donde están. Entonces, conectarlas a las oportunidades de trabajo, conectarlas, tercero, a otra necesidad que son los servicios urbanos que en muchos casos se ven colapsados porque no están listos para atender estas nuevas necesidades. Entonces, servicios urbanos y servicios sociales allí donde están. Y por último, finanzas, desde pagos, sistemas de pagos, vías para transferencia de remesas, de acceso a financiamiento para empezar un emprendimiento. Y yo menciono varias de las modalidades que hay para hacerlo. Esos son los 4 tipos de necesidades que vamos a tratar de trabajar juntos en esto. ¿Qué pasa ahora? Bueno, en realidad el primer paso ya lo mencionó John, va a haber unos talleres ya mismo para seguir yendo a la siguiente fase de implementación y porque creemos que esto tiene que estar como realmente respondiendo a las necesidades reales y locales. Vamos a también desplegar una serie de eventos de co-creación en cada una de las comunidades, en 9 países en toda la región, y eso va a empezar inmediatamente. De esas actividades de co-creación vamos a identificar y a articular mejor cuáles son los problemas locales que vamos a tratar de responder dentro de estas 4 áreas de necesidad. Estamos realmente orgullosos y contentos de poder estar aquí juntos. Creemos que realmente de de este trabajo colectivo, de este trabajo multidisciplinar y de la creación de esta plataforma de Juntos es Mejor, que es una plataforma abierta, es una plataforma en la que se puede sumar todas las organizaciones y las personas que quieran contribuir y con una manera muy flexible de poder sumarse según las capacidades de cada uno. Y creemos que ese trabajo conjunto es el que nos va a llevar a una mejor solución. Así que muchas gracias a todos y os invito a los que todavía no estáis asociados al desafío de Juntos es Mejor, os invito a asociaros a él gracias a USAID y a todos los socios que ya están involucrados. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, John and Arina. And indeed, as you said, we are better together. I'm going to ask a young Venezuelan businesswoman, Veronica Ruiz del Viso, to share the opportunity this challenge represents to Venezuelans. And it's, come on up.
Okay.
And it's so important, I think, because really what I'm excited to hear from Veronica is the call to action for each of us around this challenge.
Hola a todos. Well, I'm just one of the million of young entrepreneurs that have left our country behind. Can you raise your hand if you left Venezuela behind? Yes, I'm just one of you. And the thing is, when you are outside your country, people usually ask you, like, Veronica, if there's a change in Venezuela, you will be able to go back to your home. And I think the majority of us will be say, yes, I want to go back home. I want to do business in my country. I want to have family there. I want to be with my friends and family and start working to rebuild our country. But the thing is, when I start my own business 12 years ago, I never thought that the years after, I need to thought to open offices in other cities of the region. Because if we want to grow, we need to leave Venezuela, the only Venezuela focus. But Venezuela was our dream land to start our business. And day to day, we're working in Ecuador, in other cities, working shoulder to shoulder with a lot of talent in the region, and that offices are full of Venezuelan talent. Then we are bringing value to those countries, but we need to bring value now to our country too. We stayed in contact with our family in Venezuela and our friends, and we know that we want to go back when there's a change, but we know for sure that they have problems now. They are facing a crisis and people that is not willing to wait for us to go back home. And that's why I think that the Better Together Challenge is a big opportunity, because we are not waiting for a change. We're start thinking now how we can propose solutions to those problems. So as a young, as I said, I'm just one of the million entrepreneurs that are in constant contact with what is happening in Venezuela. We have an office right now with 100 employees in Caracas. And when we talk with them, they share with us their stories about how they are funding medicines or food, or they are without electricity and they are on WhatsApp saying like, I'm going to wait because I have to charge my phone and I cannot talk with you right now because there's no electricity. And even that they are facing that type of crisis, they are the ones that want to work hard. They are bringing solutions every day to Caracas. They are not in just one stage. They're every day trying to solve their problems. So we cannot left their team behind. You cannot left our country behind. So I'm thrilled and excited for this Better Together Challenge, because it's an opportunity to start right now to work together, shoulder to shoulder, to that talent in the region to bring solutions. I think that when people say what we can do for Venezuela, we thought that if we are not in politics, we cannot help. but we have the capacity, the creativity, the drive, and we want to excel. And I think there's a lot of knowledge within that million of people around the world that if we bring together that knowledge, that experience that we had received outside our country, we can bring solutions together. So thank you, the USAID and the IDB, for creating this amazing challenge, because for people like me, young entrepreneurs that are working hard, we want to bring those solutions and we want to be part of the rebuild of our country, but we want to be part now. So thank you so much.
You can see why I'm so excited about unlocking the genius of people like you, Veronica, and others around the world. Remember, it might not only be a Venezuelan that participates, it might be a Cambodian. It might be someone from Kenya who is drawn to the situation of the Venezuelan people and the opportunity to stand behind you. And that's what this challenge is all about. People around the world coming together, solving together. Because as we've heard today, we are better together. I'm very excited because I think I saw many people in the audience already go to the website who want to be part of this effort. So I know you're all asking yourselves, who can apply? What types of solutions are eligible? Is my idea going to be heard? Am I going to be respected? Can I stand shoulder to shoulder, like Veronica said? And the answer is almost everyone. Students, professors, startups, faith-based organizations, companies. If you care, come and join us. We are open to hearing your ideas. This is why we're trying to do business this way, because we believe we're better together. And as John and Irene mentioned, there are ideas that we are not even smart enough to think about right now that will come out of this. The point is, there's so much ingenuity and creativity even in this room. But the success of this effort depends on those ideas. It depends on having broad outreach to each of you, helping us find those solvers, putting out social media, tweeting, joining us in these solver fairs, getting the word out, because it could be your brother, your cousin, your sister-in-law that has that good idea. You can imagine if you were Jorge Odon, the car mechanic, and if someone had told you, no, you're not a solver, you're not smart enough. In this type of situation, everyone's brilliance can unlock a different destiny for Venezuela. So we need you to help us get the word out about the challenge and encourage people to put in ideas. I invite you all to think about this challenge and to help, whether by sharing information, applying, addressing problems directly, or by supporting the solutions and the expertise. We will bring the financial resources. We hope others that are moved. If you are a company, if you are someone who wants to put funding to these ideas, come and talk to us. We would welcome you in the collective partnership that is looking for the best ideas. I'd love to invite back to the stage Ambassador Vecchio, FIU president, also to join us back on stage. And I'd like to thank a few others. So please come on up. Come on up. Come on. Yeah, everyone, come on, have a seat. So what is so special about today is that we're not alone in this commitment to bringing new solutions to the regional crisis. Please, sir. First, I'm so honored to invite the consul generals from the region who are here today to join us on stage. Mr. Pedro Agustin Valencia, Consul General for Colombia, please join us. And Ambassador Martha Lazarda Jicotti, Consul General of Peru, please also join us. And if all can remain standing, please. Ms. Pamela Jalil, Consul General of Ecuador, please come up. And we're just going to amass on stage, so we're very informal. Please come, make room for everyone. There's always room for everyone in a challenge. I'd like to thank Citi for their contribution to support of the challenge. I want to also invite Accenture Development Partners to join us. I'd like to recognize the following partners that are bringing critical resources to the challenge but weren't able to attend. They include Alight, the Alliance for Peace Building, the Bogota Chamber of Commerce, of course, Florida International University, the Smart Communities Coalition, and the World Chambers Federation. I also want to invite and recognize our outreach partners. And these people are so critical because remember, a challenge will fail if we do not inspire the solvers of the world to join us. So welcoming Alifit International, Atlantic Council, AVSI Foundation, Sayara International, the Trust for the Americas, V5 Initiative, and the Venezuelan American Chamber of Commerce. Do you notice how crowded it's getting up here? And finally, those that are not here but critical to these efforts include CAAT Bioversity International, the International Center for Religion and Diplomacy, Magis Americas, the Malteser International, and World Vision. Now, I'm going to step away from behind the stage. So here, there's a lot of people on stage, right? We could probably fit a few more, but maybe not. And please, everyone, scooch in, get in here. We're missing. Okay, come on. So what's missing? You. Right? So what we need, because we wouldn't all fit on the stage, or I would have every single one of you here, because you are going to be critical to making this challenge work. Later today, we are going to ask you to please make commitments on the wall over it on how you're going to help us do that. Tweet, join us later, around a little bit later today. We're going to be doing workshops. For those of you that already have ideas, come hear about how you actually submit. We want you to be successful. We want your idea to win. Let us help you hear about how that might work. But most of all, I want to send a message, and that is to the Venezuelan people and to the host country governments and communities that are embracing them, you are not alone. You are not alone. Look at the people on the stage and the audience and around the world. So I'd like to end by saying, please join us. Join this amazing group of committed people and organizations, because most of all, we are better together. Thank you so much for joining us today.